with any facts I miss?
There you go. Something to think about.
It is now 6 o'clock, and we're going to call the meeting of the Forest Lake Planning Commission to order, right on time. We are now called to order. Abby, are you doing roll call tonight, please?
I am. Thank you, Chair Young. Commissioner Aplikowski.
Here.
Note, Commissioner Hoyman is absent. Commissioner Steeler.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
Commissioner Stender.
Here.
Noting also for the record, our Chair Gerard is absent this evening. Acting Chair Young.
Here, QB2.
UB2.
Okay. Those who are able, could you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as provided to us this evening?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. We have an open forum. Our open forums here are for anybody that has an issue or a concern to bring before the Planning Commission. They are not our public hearings. We will have 2 public hearings this evening. And if you are here to speak at one of our public hearings, I encourage you to do it then, because then your comments will be fresh in our minds. But do we have anybody who is interested in bringing something in front of the Planning Commission tonight that you think we should be aware of on any topic in the community? Abby, do I have anyone online?
No, we no longer have online participation options.
Okay.
I do have Jamie White signed up, but it does indicate for the budding measures IUP. So I think, Manjan, want to wait until that public hearing? Yes. Okay.
Then I am going to close the open forum. I'm looking for a motion on the consent agenda or a motion to remove one or the other of the items from the consent agenda. Just for the information of folks, if we approve the consent agenda as is, both minutes are automatically approved. What's the pleasure?
Madam Chair, could you pull approval of the minutes from the October 22nd meeting? Thank you.
Then I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of October 8th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 8th minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of October 22nd, 2025.
So moved. I'm sorry, why did we pull them? Why did we
I'm
pull
going
it?
to have one abstention.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe he had something else to say about it. Okay. I will second that approval then.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Thank you very much. Okay, we are now on the regular agenda for tonight's meeting. We have a public hearing, and our first public hearing will be to allow for a garage at 780 Woodland Drive. I'm not sure which of y'all would like to set us up for that this evening?
Oh, it's me, ma'am. It's your lucky day. So tonight before you is a variance request for 780 Woodland Drive, and it's brought to you by Jim Johnson, the landowner. Mr. Johnson owns 2 adjoining parcels. These are at 780 Woodland Drive in an unaddressed parcel lot directly north. The detached garage currently sits on the separate unaddressed lot. You can see it right above the 780. It's a building just right there, kind of straddling the right-of-way on this map. This is a code issue, essentially, because the accessory structure can't exist without a principal structure, and there is currently no driveway serving the garage. Tonight's request is to relocate that garage onto the 780 Woodland parcel so it's compliant, but doing so triggers the need for 2 variances. Before you is a request for a front setback reduction from 30 feet to 9 feet to accommodate the garage, as well as an impervious surface increase from 30% to about 35%, depending on the size of the driveway we're suggesting. Because this lot is less than 15,000 square feet, it's a non-conforming lot for this district, so the maximum impervious surface is 30%, but no greater than 3,780 square feet, rather than the regular 25%. Here's what exists today. The 780 Woodland parcel is small. It's roughly 4,700 square feet with a 680 square foot home built around 1930. The adjacent land lot holds a 320 square foot garage, only about 1 foot from the right of way, and there's no paved driveway. The total impervious surface on 780 right now is around 21%. The goal here is to bring the garage onto the main property and bring the overall use into better compliance. The proposal is to move the detached garage onto the 780 Woodland parcel and add a paved driveway, about 350 square feet by our estimations, which is required under City Code 153-119K. The garage structure itself isn't changing, same size, same look, because he's just moving it over. But the new placement will sit about 9 feet from the right-of-way, creating that front setback variance. Including the new driveway, impervious surface coverage goes from 21% to roughly 35% with the addition of the garage and the driveway. Staff has evaluated the request against the city's variance criteria. The lot's small size and existing home placement make compliance difficult. This is a unique condition. The use, single family with a detached garage, is consistent with the district's intent. The situation wasn't created by the current owner. The lot configuration predates him. The change won't harm nearby properties or alter the neighborhood character. And overall, it maintains the spirit of the code, bringing the property closer to compliance while correcting a greater nonconformity. So staff recommends approval of resolution 11-12-2501, authorizing a 21-foot front yard setback variance and a 5% impervious surface variance. The approval would come with standard conditions. The site must match submitted plans. All permits from the city, county, and watershed district must be obtained. A certified survey and driveway permit must be submitted before any work starts. The intent is to ensure this remains compliant through construction while minimizing neighborhood impacts.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
Is the intent to split the lot after? Is that what that one slide showed?
Mr. Johnson has suggested that it's in his plans to split the lot and combine his other property, which is that 776, that north property. He also owns, he owns all 3 lots, and he has suggested he would like to split the property in the future.
And sell it off?
Okay. Just add property. So essentially, if he were to do that, if he did the lot split or lot consolidation, it would make the 780 property in compliance with impervious structure because you've added that additional land.
Okay, so it's not like we're just doing this to then sell it off and
No, that's,
build another.
his suggestion has been that lot consolidation, lot split, kind of to expand his 2 properties, 780 and 776.
If that's his intent, can that be part of the condition? Can't that be part of the condition?
Conditions can be reasonable and proportionate to the request that's being asked. And so I do think that this body could make that requirement. We did encourage the applicant to make that request at the same time as this request, knowing that that would definitely decrease the amount of variances needed. However, this is how they wanted to move forward. I think that that's definitely something that you can discuss, is whether or not it's a reasonable condition of approval.
Okay.
It does appear that the 70, on the survey, it does appear that the 76 property encroaches into the nothing land.
Yeah, the unaddressed. Yeah.
The unaddressed land. So in terms of being able to construct something there, I drove by and tried to pay stuff off today. It would be very difficult to build anything there without significant variances.
Although I'd like to point out, according to this survey here, that might be an issue with the map representation with our county and city GIS, that this survey shows that it doesn't straddle the right of way. But your points is held that if you were to do this, it'd be less of an encroachment to that side setback.
And it has been the history of this planning commission that when we have the opportunity, we try to reduce the variances and especially reduce the amount of impervious surface. There are great concerns about water quality in Forest Lake here, and the more impervious surface we have, the greater lake degradation we see. Any other questions from the planning commission? Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Would you like to come up and either talk to us or answer questions, and I would like your name, please, and your address.
My
the
name is
record.
James Johnson with SEN. I live permanently at 1940 Mindell in Lake Elmo. Just give you a little background on who I am. The house at 776 belonged to my grandparents, way back when I was this little. We tore it down years ago when we decided we had a business in St. Paul that my aunt wanted to buy, because my dad and uncle never were involved in it because we were running the business. So she bought it and tore it down, and so I've been coming up here forever, all my life. Carol Cena on one side, grew up with her since 12 years old. Mel Novak, that I bought the house from, what my intent was when Mel was selling is, hey Mel, can I buy 10 feet or 15 feet? Because it's so skinny of a lot there, right? And he said, you know, Jim, he says, it's a buildable lot. And I said, okay, this is gonna cost me some more money. But I said, Mel, what I wanna do, I says, is I want to be able to split that lot someday if I have to. I live on 3.5 acres in Lake Elmo. I like my space. What my intent is to move the garage over to the other side where it looks like that's where it should be. And I do have intent to rent it out. I gonna remodel it, clean it up, you know. Splitting the lot, we talked about that, right? Right now, I don't wanna do it for only one reason, or two reasons. One, I think if you take the 20 feet or 25, 15 and move it to the properties, I think it'll increase the house value tax-wise. And because they're both non-homesteaded, I didn't wanna have that more tax burden. Now, my goal is stay healthy, but if I have to sell one or the other, the two-story versus just a little cabin, because my leg, I might want to say, well, let's take 25 feet towards Mel's cabin at 780, and I'll give 15 feet to the other one. I have no intention on trying to sell it as a lot, because I like my space. And so my intention is to just give more space for everything. And I'm looking at the tax thing, you know, whatever it is. But the neighbor behind me said, God, Jimmy, move that garage over there. It gets off the road. He said, I'll be able to see the lake again. So my intention is, and I'm a straight shooter. That's how I am. I tell the truth. I don't blow smoke. I don't want to go 20-20 right now. I'd rather leave it as it is. And then if I decide to do 25, because I'm going to move the Mel's cabin, the blue one, because I want a little more space there, I'll give the other people 15 feet, not 5 feet. So that's my whole intent. I didn't plan on buying Mel's cabin until he told me he wanted to sell it, and I wanted to make sure what kind of neighbor I had. And if somebody did build a house there, and they could build a house there, God, it'd be right on top of me again. So that's where I am. I'm a straight shooter, and I tell the truth.
Any questions for the applicant?
I have one. So you own both 776 and 780?
776, I bought that from my aunt, yes, just 2 years ago, she passed away. And 778,
Yep, 780.
776 is that one. And then 780, I own both, yes. Yes, I own them both. So Mel's 780 has got the double lot, or the extra lot, I should say, yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it, you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Planning Commissioners, is there some discussion, or do you want a motion to start your discussion?
Chair, may I please just ask if you check if there's any additional comment and close the public hearing portion of the meeting?
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. It is 6:15, I am going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much. Commissioners, thoughts?
My thoughts, so I've probably been here the longest since you, Susan, right? I remember we did a one on Lake Number 3 years ago, and it was, they wanted to remodel the place, and it had a lot of non-conforming stuff. And even though I voted to approve it, it got shot down because it didn't meet the impervious. And here we have an opportunity, it's really not a big deal to meet the impervious by putting that requirement on there that they subdivides the lot prior to doing all this. So I think that's gotta happen. That would be my recommendation in approving this, is that subdivision of the lot, of that space happens as part of this. Only because that way it doesn't go against what we shot down before on at least more than one occasion.
Is there any discussion on that particular topic?
I would have to agree with that as well, because it seems like by not combining the lot right now, it's more of a financial decision than to make it conforming.
Okay. The public hearing is closed, but did you have a comment, sir?
Well, I was asking, what are you thinking? Because I know you guys move on. The only thing I was saying was, if I had the opportunity, even I put in writing, would have said, I will not build on that house, or build on that property, if I decided that I want to put 25 feet one way and 15 feet the other way, depending on which house I wanted, or 20/20 either way. And that's all I was trying to hold off. And I was worried about, because both are non-homesteaded, that if you did it now, 20 feet on each side or whatever it is I'm gonna get the burden of hitting me with more taxes, because of non-homestead. Maybe not.
Not sure why that, I mean, you may, I don't control the taxes,
40
but
feet, now you have 60 feet with two houses of value. When you got a little garage, that's probably worth $1,000.
but the land area hasn't changed.
I'm sorry?
The land area between all the property would not have changed.
No, but just the value of, you took 20 feet here and 20 feet there. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a taxation guy.
Yeah, I'm not either, but I mean, you originally have those 3 lots essentially.
Yeah.
And you still have those 3 lots, or the same area. The area of land hasn't changed.
No, I was just,
Taxation's broken up, they break out areas separate from
Yeah.
structures.
Yeah.
So
okay. And maybe I'm
mean,
wrong.
it may, but I can't believe it would change much.
Again, I'm not taxation. It's just if you had 60 feet of frontage on a house over here, somebody say, well, you got 60 feet of frontage. Again, I was just trying, that's the only thing I was trying to do. If I had to put something in writing that I'm not gonna build a house, I'm not gonna build a house. But whatever you gotta do, I'll accept it.
Okay.
Okay? Again, you guys gotta move on. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
I believe that we could add a requirement that at some point in the future, that the unaddressed lot would be divided between the two properties and not sold as is, as a separate lot.
Chair, a point of clarification, it could also be combined, that unaddressed lot could be combined with 770 or 780. And I just don't want to hamstring us going forward to say this has to be split when he may decide to go with a lot combo with the two parcels.
And I think that if we said divided, because the other one, the 76, I don't believe that it meets its side setback, does it?
No, it does not.
It does not, but I will state it is a legal non-conforming property that is not a part of the request before you tonight. Though it is under the same ownership, I think, again, we kind of have to get back to that. What's the reasonable request for the action tonight? And I would say that I hear Commissioner Steeler's concern about reducing the need for a variance and increasing the permeable land area. but the condition should be imposed upon the subject properties, not necessarily the adjacent property. Though I will state for the record, I understand the intent of the planning commission would be to try to reduce the nonconformities on both properties.
What is the ownership of the who owns the unregistered, or the unnumbered lot? Is it 76 or 80? Where is the ownership?
All three parcels are independent parcels from one another, owned by Jim.
So it would actually be 778.
Yeah, it's unaddressed, the garage is addressed 778 on his survey, but as a part of all records, it's unaddressed.
I think what it is that the owner of 778 once upon a time built a garage on that ancillary property that they owned. There is a provision in the code when you own property next door, if it's vacant, we consider it one, but I can understand the concern that a vacant lot just sitting out there can be sold independently, and we wouldn't necessarily want that to occur either. For all intents and purposes, they are three separate tax lots independently owned. The middle one is not necessarily a product of either of them, given the ownership structure today. Does that make sense?
Yep. And I will say that somehow the county has gotten a piece of my property that they consider, quote, vacant, and that is taxed at a higher rate than the rest of my property. So moving the garage, Mr. Johnson will have to figure out things in the future. Do I have a draft motion from the planning commissioners?
I guess to word, if I was to make a motion on my thoughts on this, I would move that the applicant divide, reapply with the 3 lots turned into 2 lots. He can determine, he'll have to, decide whether it's 15 or 20 and 20, or how he's gonna divide those lots, but to reapply with that division. Or, I mean, if we can approve it per that division, so long as, do we need to put restrictions on that division? Do we care if he puts 5 feet versus 30 feet, or I don't know how wide that lot is?
I know that
One
you're,
of my concerns with reapplying is that it starts the process over again, and he has to pay the fees again. And so I think perhaps putting a condition in there that the planning commission is anticipating.
So you'd like a motion to approve on the condition that the 3 lots be turned into 2 lots?
At some point in the future. But
I
I
think,
have a problem doing that because of the 780.
I think you're gonna want a date certain.
Yeah.
Either before we release a building permit for the moving of the garage, or something of that nature, but just saying in the future
Yeah.
isn't gonna be enough for us to go back and say, hey, Jim, you were supposed to do this thing. What I would say is, it sounds like, if you don't mind, Chair, it sounds like Commissioner Steeler wants to make a motion to approve Resolution 11-12-2501 with an additional condition, the 3 lots be combined to 2 prior to the release of a building permit. Is that correct?
That's well worded, yes, thank you.
And that would, he still has the 9 feet that the variance would still be required for. But the variance for the impermeable surface would be removed.
And looking at the other properties out there, that 9 feet,
Yeah, that's
probably
why I
not
brought
all
him
that
up, yeah.
different than
No.
many of them.
No,
So I
When
don't
I
have
drove
a
it
problem
today, it
with
was
that.
pretty tight.
Yeah.
I have no idea where y'all put snow.
In the lake.
That whole little one-way cul-de-sac, I have no idea where the snow goes.
Yeah, well, I just moved up there 2 years ago, and I took a snow blower and I blew it here and there and stuff, and then, of course, you got where the house is, you push it, not in the lake, because I'm not gonna ruin my yard, you know, but it's gonna be pushed up, you know, 10 feet or whatever, where the driveway is, because you're gonna have, where the garage moves over to the house, you'll have that whole area, kind of like an extra lot. That's where the snow, somewhere's gonna go there. It's not gonna go in the neighbor's yard, it'd be all on my side. But not gonna push it into the lake because I'm gonna ruin my yard. And I just, had it all cleaned and fertilized and, try to make it look nice for everybody.
Okay. So I have a motion. Do you want to state that motion, please, for us as you hear it?
So real quick, let's clarify. Essentially, what we're hearing is that we will approve the front setback. It's the impervious that we don't want to approve is unless there is the lot change, lot expansion, lot consolidation. So it may be prudent for us to provide another resolution that removes the impervious and adds all the other conditions that you have suggested here to make sure that we make this whole going forward, because we don't want to have a resolution that approves an impervious surface requirement that's no longer a variance that's required if the property changes.
So even though I had said for Commissioner Steeler approving resolution, he moved it, so I don't know, 1125.
We'll approve a revised resolution then, or?
Yeah, I think what it would actually be is a motion to approve the setback variance, deny the impervious surface variance with the conditions outlined by staff and the additional of the commission tonight, and direct staff to bring a new resolution back.
So basically what that does, commissioners, is we're saying, we're gonna be okay with your 9 foot and the setback, because that reflects the character of that particular cul-de-sac. But in terms of the impervious surface, we're denying that portion of it, and we'll anticipate a new resolution coming back with the conditions. All right? Is that appropriate, sir?
That works for me,
All right.
yes.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So all that, what does that mean to me? Is everything's gonna go forward to what we talked about then?
Yes, but you're going to essentially split them a little sooner,
Split it sooner?
Yeah.
Okay. If I do
Split or
it-
combine.
or combine.
That's what I mean, combine, whatever?
Right.
Do I have a choice of when to do it or how much to do it at any given time?
You'll need to, at the very least, combine that lot with the lot that the garage is going on
Okay.
before the building permit.
Okay.
And then later on, you can move that lot line,
Either way.
either way.
And that's fine. Like I say, I have no intent on putting a house up there.
The combination process is administrative through Washington County, and so we can send you that information after
Okay.
tonight's meeting.
All right. And then as far as, I seen a 120-day deadline. Was that for something that, I can't put a cement slab there now. So am I gonna have to come back again, or is that something that in May or whatever, I can start it then?
This approval is valid in perpetuity. It will be recorded against the property. The 120-day deadline is for us to take action on the variance request.
Okay.
And so you've got the approvals that you need, and in the spring, when you come in for your building permit, as long as those two properties are combined, then we can release that building permit.
Okay, good enough. Well, thanks for your time. I know, I'm not a real estate guy, so,
I understand.
but I just want to make sure I understand everything. You had enough of my time, I had enough of your time. Hey, thanks a lot for everything, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
And welcome to Forest Lake.
I love Forest Lake, that's why I came up here. Like I said, I have a bar and restaurant. I can't go to Pine City because when you go up there, the next thing breaks, you gotta come back, right? And I love Forest Lake. You guys got a great place here. My family lives up here, my family's up here.
That's a good thing.
Take care. Thank you.
Okay. All right, our next item is an interim use permit for Forest Lake Cannabis at 1467 Lake Street South, Suite 200. We are going to have a public hearing for this, but Abby, would you like to set us up first?
Stephen will be taking this one as
All
well
right.
this evening.
Yes, tonight before you is an interim use permit request for Budding Measured Movement LLC. They're doing business as Forest Lake Cannabis. They're requesting to operate a cannabis retail store at 1467 Lake Street South. This is within the MU2 zoning district and classified as a retail cannabis use, which requires an IUP under city code. Our role this evening is to hold the public hearing, review our staff's analysis, and make a recommendation to the city council. Just a quick reminder of what an IUP is. An interim use permit is temporary. It expires after a set period. It gives the city some flexibility, especially with something like cannabis where state rules are still changing. This one would run for 5 years, just like the others we've approved so far, ending in November of 2030, or 5 years from when the date of council approval, if they approve. Here's a quick rundown of our internal reviews. The police reviewed the security plan, had no concerns. Building has a couple of standard items, building permits, restroom access updates, but nothing unusual. Engineering, fire, and public works don't have any issues since there's no exterior work. The watershed rules also don't apply because nothing on the site is changing physically, and they'll need odor control and future signage will go through the regular permitting process. So just a quick review of the site and use details. This is a small tenant space. It's about 2,100 square feet in a retail center. Parking is shared and nothing outside is changing. The applicant's proposing retail sales only, no growing or manufacturing. Their hours fall within what we typically allow. The site falls outside of the existing 500-foot buffer zones for retail cannabis. On this map, childcare is purple, parks are green, and the residential treatment facilities that aren't there, but if they were, they'd be amber, and schools are red. The key issue here is the license type they plan to apply for with the state of Minnesota. It's a micro-business license, which includes growing or manufacturing, even if they don't plan to do that, which per our code requires a 250-foot buffer from residential. If they applied for a retail-only license, this buffer would not apply. It's helpful to note they are not proposing anything but retail on the site. This 200-foot buffer is City Code Section 153092 UU10A, if you're keeping track at home. This slide shows why the license type matters. Our city code requires a 250-foot buffer from residential zoning only for licenses that allow cultivation and manufacturing, and this includes a micro-business license. The applicant's license triggers that rule, and as you can see on the map, the site is well within that distance, with that green shade being the 250-foot buffer from the parcel, with the purple being residential. If they were applying for a retail-only license, that setback wouldn't apply at all. So the issue isn't the proposed retail use, it's how the state license category and operations it allows interacts with our code. So look at the usual findings. The proposal fits the surrounding land uses, and we don't see impacts to traffic, utilities, or property values. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan and matches the MU2 district's intent. The only complication is, again, that 250-foot setback tied to the micro-business license. So staff are suggesting two options for this commission. Option one is denial because this site is within 250 feet of residential zoning and doesn't meet the buffer requirement of 153092. Option two is a conditional approval, and this is where we get into some nuance. This requires the applicant's license type to better align with city code. Right now, their operations fit the code, but their license type does not. Currently, they would need to pursue a retail cannabis license unless the code is updated to better reflect the intent of their proposal. Recommended conditions include the typical odor control, permitted signage, compliance with all cannabis rules, annual registration, and making sure the final license type complies with code. In addition to these two options, and we'll come back to those, we are suggesting that this body recommend to the city council to consider updating our cannabis zoning rules. The code currently focuses on the state license type instead of what the business is actually doing. Aligning those better would give us clear, more fair standards going forward. And that's it.
Commissioners, do you have any questions of Stephen? I'm sorry, but I do.
Yep, you got it.
That building has 4 separate business opportunities, of which one of them, the PC, the physical therapy, is on the end. I counted 18 spaces in back for employees, of which today 9 of them were used by the sole business that's operational, the physical therapy. And there are 15 spaces in front, plus 3 handicap spaces, of which this afternoon, 6 of them in the front were occupied. This business expects to have 7 employees on a regular basis. So as long as the other 2 businesses stay vacant, there may be enough employee parking in the back. My concern is that this is going to be a medical and recreational retail establishment. And I am not sure that 6 spaces in the front is going to be sufficient even for this business, much less if the other 2 retail spaces are rented out. Staff, I'd appreciate your thoughts on that, please.
When we look at multi-tenant buildings, we look at the uses at the time of the building's construction, and we look to see that it's generally conforming with the parking standards in place. This is one of the challenges we kind of run into with multi-tenant buildings in a multi-use district, right? Some of the uses might be office, could also be maybe even warehousing, have low parking requirements, but then we have other types of uses where retail, we might have a little bit more intense, or medical might have more intense. The challenge with this is that there would not be any additional uses. That the parking has already been defined when the building was established. And so the idea of whether or not we would potentially deny it on the basis there is no parking is essentially limiting the ability for the use of the structure.
So we get to set up a really bad situation, a potentially bad situation.
I think at the time that we look at site improvement plans, site alteration permits for properties and the new construction, we should probably be looking more, we should probably be scrutinizing those not worst case scenarios, but maybe those worst case scenarios for parking. That let's just say if the highest intensity use in this particular zoning district for this particular building was a restaurant, which needs 1 space for every 200, maybe we should be looking at them achieving that parking standard if we don't know what those future uses are going to be. But unfortunately, the time of construction of the building, when we approved the site plan, was when we approved the parking plan for the property.
And it really becomes a burden for the owner of the building, right? I mean, he's gonna have a hard time renting out those units if a potential renter can't allow their employees, or don't have employee parking or customer parking, right? If all the parking spaces are filled all the time and there's 2 vacant units there, he's probably not gonna be too happy about that. I would think, right? He's an owner, he owns a building.
But
Those 2 units
his
are gonna sit
priority
empty.
is to rent the space, not to worry about whether or not there's going to be parking out on 61.
Well, there's not gonna be parking on 61, but, yeah, I just think that's, I guess I wasn't concerned about that.
Okay, all right.
I have a question.
Yes, sir?
I was just wondering if this is more like a stop and go or stop and browse shop. I mean, if people are just gonna come in, grab their stuff and go right out, or if they're gonna come in and browse for like a half hour or something, then you could be looking at, more parking spaces. But if they're just buzzing in, grabbing what they want and heading out, maybe the parking spots are sufficient.
I can't necessarily speak to the nature of the sales and the timing of the patrons in the facility.
We can ask the applicant their thoughts later. There was another question?
Yeah, more of a statement of, I am uncomfortable with us approving cultivation within residential areas, and that's really what we're being asked to do. There's all the good faith in the world, but those homes are 50 feet from that place, and it's a slippery slope.
I want to clarify for the record that, one, they're not proposing anything other than retail use, and two, we can condition the IUP to be solely retail use.
Cultivation is not proposed on the site.
So what staff is saying is that if we are to approve this evening, we could make it a condition that only retail sales.
Does that open us up for lawsuit, though? If they're licensed by the state? My understanding is what the state says dictates to this, in this industry.
They are licensed by the state. The state is, the license that they proposed or applied for is a micro-business license with a retail endorsement. The city's.
Your city. You're in full control with what you can allow. Activities are proposed the use aligns with the city's framework for cannabis retail and an MU2 and an IUP, and the site plan involves only minor interior improvements. Exterior conditions remain unchanged. The applicant has been pre-approved by the State Office of Cannabis Management for a micro-business license, not a standalone retail license. We wish to kindly note for the record, because the applicant's pre-approval is for a micro-business license, we cannot switch to a retail license at this stage. Accordingly, we respectfully acknowledge the staff's alternative.
We grant this, and we understand, and they understand it's only gonna be retail, and whatever happens down the line, and all of a sudden, whether they sold the business, someone else is running it, or they decide to do
Be
cultivate.
clear that we can revoke the registration immediately and require them to rectify the matter. We also have an administrative enforcement program that once we determine there's a violation, we can send notice to rectify the matter, and then we can cite them immediately. And so I think that there's a couple different tools in effect. It's usually the leg is the knowing that there's
Yeah.
a change of use. And there being some sort of complaint, our ability a day or two to get out and take a look to see if that is the case.
Yeah, that would be concerning. Then it would fall back on the city to make sure there's, when it comes to manufacturing of marijuana, you could simply be manufacturing in the back room of that. We wouldn't know as a city level. And you'd still be within your right with the license that you have. At what point does the city have any action that we can take if 6 months from now, they're producing a grow room in the back of that, because we all know you can produce marijuana in a small space, and their license would apply for that?
So one of
It
the-
would fall on the city to make sure that there isn't things happening on the site that don't oppose the usage.
One of the conditions and one of the requirements of code for dealing with these types of businesses, there is inspections, annually, surprise inspections that are done by the city. So that would be at their own detriment if they were to have those operations.
So at that point, would the license be revoked?
Yes, we would have, the IUP would not, their retail registration, their local registration would be revoked. We'd have to notify the Office of Cannabis Management immediately. It is like any other kind of use, and that people don't always do as they say. I'm not saying that's the case for budding measures, but any type of use in our code runs the risk of expansion, so.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, one on that is, I think if the state says, well, they're licensed for it, you can't enforce it, now we're in court, right? That's why I really, with all the best intentions and promises in the world, I just think we're opening up for a problem. I'm really, really against having manufacturer within residential area. I think it's good that our code prevents that. My question for staff is, are we required to approve two?
Other
There are buffer distance.
restaurants that sell liquor are
Vape cigarette licenses still don't,
I would motion for our recommendation
and that includes retail sales only?
with retail sales only as one of them.
Do I have a second for that motion?
I second.
Is there any further discussion? Anything that we want to bring up for each other? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
I hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ayes and 1 no. Motion passes. This will move on to the city council. We are not the final arbiter on this.
Would you like to make the further recommendation to the council to look at our code?
Yes. Could you please inform the council that this was something that we found very difficult because of the lack of clarity on the city's ability to enforce retail only, the city's ability to, quite frankly, shut down a state-authorized use if, such as grow and manufacture, to remain in compliance with city requirements.
All right.
Commissioners, are there any other topics that you wish to discuss tonight? We are now on the discussion portion of our agenda.
You don't have to stick around for that if you don't want to.
If I had one more thing to say, if you'd allow it.
You need to come up.
First of all, thank you. And I hear your concerns about the license type that the state allows. But I hope that, I wanted to provide some clarity on that even though the license type as a micro license allows for cultivation or growing, we still have to apply to the state to allow that. We have never even written a plan to allow for that. We have always written the state calls them a plan of record to be a retail only. So even
You're thinking
Where are
pretty
you,
hard.
where are you at on the public works facility and potential sales tax?
Public Works matter we're gonna be discussing on our next workshop meeting a little further, also along with more of our budget stuff. Sales tax, we haven't really landed on anything yet. It was just in discussion currently. We did have a lot of people show up for a meeting to discuss that, showing opposition in some respect towards that. But it's still a process.
Okay. Our new planner?
Nothing from me, just excited to work with all of you.
That's a good opportunity to introduce Michael Birchland to the committee. He'll be here, the commission. He'll be here every meeting along with me. I think Abby's proven that she's not going to get off the hook anytime soon. Joke. She's, but yeah, he comes to us also by happenstance from the great state of Florida. Another refugee like myself. Happy to have him. He's brought an incredible expertise. He's from Palm Beach County, is where he previously worked as a planner, and it's already helped us understand, especially with the amended staff report. The first thing we did was ask him, hey, how do you go about amending a staff report in Palm Beach? And his input is really what guided us to be able to make those changes as those kind of new information came to light. So he's already proving his weight, probably more than I ever have so far. That's a joke.
Actually, Palm Beach County is one of the areas that I am most familiar with because you have one of the leading solid waste systems in the United States. Trash ladies are forever. Abby?
Thank you, Chair Young. I have a couple updates. I want to also welcome Michael. You've seen many new faces now come into the city in the Community Development Department. Today, we also welcomed a new building official, Jason Wagner. If you didn't know, we have not had a permanent in-house building official for over a year, about 16 months. So this is a pretty big step for us. Also, too, this marks the moment that Building Inspections Division now comes under the umbrella of Community Development. Still have a little bit of a tie with the fire department, but we are trying to streamline our operations, and businesses come in, they work through entitlements, they work through building inspections. I think this will really help improve our development climate, our interactions with businesses and the community, to just help more streamline our operations. Happy to answer any questions about that. Get to 180th on 190th, maybe 190th, I guess. I think that might be some of the hindrance we had in the past, is we created very large staging areas or decade development areas where we said that urban infrastructure would go to. And if we look at potentially scaling those back a little bit more reasonably and growing at maybe a smaller or a more reasonable growth rate, not to say that we're unreasonably growing right now, because when you look at some of our neighboring communities, our housing production, the actual number of units is still relatively low compared to North Metro.
Yes, but they have infrastructure access that we do not.
They don't have transportation, Susan. Lake Elmo, Hugo, Lino, those transportation systems don't exist there either.
I agree, some notes, and basically, we're a rubber stamp for the Met Council, is what we're turning into, and that's not what we want. We're not urban. We're ex-urban at best. We shouldn't look like the urban core of Minneapolis and St. Paul or some of the inner ring suburbs. We like lots, we like yards. I think we're not building parks fast enough near where people live, where people are begging for that, and we're letting the Met Council tie our hands. So I'll say it here publicly, I don't think we should surrender our rights to determine our own destiny to the Met Council. And if that means slowing down development, maybe even a moratorium, so be it. Thank you. That's all I had to say.
I'll continue to share the sentiments I hear. I will, Andy, I know that you've reached out to them. I can't say that that's necessarily the sentiment of the entire planning commission, but I think definitely part of what staff needs to do is go to our leaders, our policymakers, and say, hey, how do we want to address some of these concerns? And, because now is the time to start those conversations if they're going to be radical departures from the current systems and our current comp plan.
And planning commissioners, those workshops are open meetings. You are allowed to attend those meetings. I don't guarantee that any of us would speak, but we are allowed to attend those meetings.
Yep, those are the only updates I have tonight, unless you have any questions for me.
I have nothing.
Good.
Good.
Nothing. Nothing from me.
And nothing from the chair.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:22.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Oh, 1st December meeting?